Brother, you stand at the edge of a vast forest, a place of mystery where the whispers of the wind carry secrets. This is the realm of understanding women. Many men enter, but few truly see. They walk with blind steps, misreading the signs, lost in illusions. But the wise, they move with patience, guided by the ancient wisdom of the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Yet many men fight battles that should never be fought. They react when they should listen. They seek control where none is needed. They mistake silence for rejection and emotion for weakness. Will you walk blindly, or will you learn to see? Number 1. Reacting emotionally instead of observing calmly. A warrior does not draw his bow at every sound in the forest. He listens, watches, and understands before he acts. But many men, when faced with a woman's emotions, react like a startled deer, impulsive, defensive, unaware. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that is the truth. When a man reacts emotionally, he is not responding to reality. He is responding to his fears, his wounds, his need to control. A woman's words, her silence, her storms, they are not always attacks. Sometimes they are invitations, but the man who lacks wisdom sees only threats. He raises his voice, he hardens his heart, and in doing so, he loses the battle before it begins. The river does not fight the rocks, it flows around them, carving its own path with patience. A man must do the same. When emotions rise, breathe, observe, ask yourself, is this about me or something deeper? A wise man does not let the winds shake him. He stands firm like the great mountains. He sees, he understands, and only then does he speak. Number 2. Seeking control instead of practicing acceptance. A man who tries to control the wind will exhaust himself. He will curse the sky, fight the storm, and yet the wind will never bow to his will. But the wise man? He does not battle the wind, he adjusts his sails. Epictetus once said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." Yet many men forget this. They try to control how a woman feels, what she thinks, how she responds. They believe if they do or say the right thing, they can shape her like clay. But a woman is not clay. She is the river, the fire, the sky. Control is an illusion. You cannot force understanding, nor demand love. The more you tighten your grip, the more things slip through your fingers, like sand in the wind. The warrior walks with the world, not against it. He understands that true strength is not in forcing, but in flowing. A woman's emotions, her thoughts, her nature, these are not yours to control, but your own mind, your own actions, your own response, these are yours alone. So ask yourself, do you seek to dominate the storm, or do you learn to dance in the rain? Number 3. Misinterpreting silence as disinterest. The owl does not speak, yet it sees all. The river does not shout, yet it shapes the land. Silence is not emptiness, it is a language of its own. But many men, in their impatience, mistake quiet for absence, stillness for indifference. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Learn to be indifferent to what makes no difference." Yet too many men take silence as a wound to their pride. They think, she does not speak, so she must not care. But is that true? Or is silence asking you to listen in a different way? A woman's silence is not always rejection. It can be thoughtfulness. It can be protection. It can be an invitation for you to step back and truly see her, not just with your ears, but with your heart. A warrior does not panic when the forest is quiet. He watches, he waits. He understands that the silence holds secrets, just as words do. The wise man does not fear what is unspoken. He lets it breathe, knowing that what is meant to be revealed will be in time. So when she is silent, do not rush to conclusions. Do not force noise into stillness. Instead, ask yourself, what is being said without words? What is the silence teaching you? Number 4. Taking things personally instead of seeing the bigger picture. The eagle does not concern itself with the whispers of the wind. The river does not rage against the stones that stand in its path. It simply flows. Yet many men, in their pride, take every word, every action, as an attack on their spirit. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But too many men forget this. They see a woman's frustration as a personal insult. They take her silence as a punishment. They believe her words are meant to wound, when in truth, they are often just a reflection of her own battle. A warrior does not let every passing arrow pierce his heart. He knows that most are not meant for him. He understands that people speak from their own struggles, their own fears, their own storms, and so he listens not with wounded pride, but with wisdom. When you take things personally, you give away your power. You become like a leaf tossed in the wind, reacting to every gust, never standing firm. But when you step back, when you see the bigger picture, you remain steady, unmoved by the fleeting tempests of emotion. So ask yourself, are you a man who reacts or a man who understands? Do you let words define you, or do you stand strong in the face of them? Because the world will always speak, but only the wise know what is worth listening to. Number 5. Trying to win arguments instead of understanding perspectives. The wise warrior does not draw his blade at every insult, nor does he fight every battle that presents itself. He knows that some fights are won not by force, but by wisdom. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." But many men forget this. They step into arguments like warriors charging into battle, believing victory means proving the other person wrong. But what have they really won? A moment of pride? A fleeting sense of dominance? The hawk does not argue with the sky, nor does the river debate with the land. They move in harmony, understanding that each has its place, its own purpose. But a man too focused on winning an argument forgets the deeper wisdom understanding. If a woman is speaking with emotion, it is not always because she seeks a battle. If she disagrees, it does not mean she is an enemy. Too many men listen only to respond, not to understand. They sharpen their words like weapons, rather than using them as bridges. The Stoic does not seek to win against others, but to master himself. A true man listens. He considers. He understands that the goal is not to conquer, but to connect. Because in the end, wisdom is not in proving others wrong, but in learning from every voice, every perspective, every moment. Number 6. Letting external validation dictate self-worth. A man who looks to the world for his worth is like a tree begging the wind for permission to stand tall. Seneca once said, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." Many men spend their lives chasing approval, shaping themselves to fit the expectations of others. They measure their value by the praise they receive, the admiration in others' eyes. But what happens when the applause fades? When the world turns its gaze elsewhere, the eagle does not ask the sky if it may soar. The wolf does not seek permission to howl beneath the moon. And yet, too many men shrink or swell based on the words of others, forgetting that true strength comes from within. A man ruled by external validation is like a river controlled by the rain, unstable, restless, always seeking something outside himself to define his worth. But the Stoic knows better. He understands that his value is not given by others, but realized within. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. To live freely, to walk one's path with unshaken resolve, a man must look inward. He must trust in the virtues he cultivates, not in the fleeting opinions of the crowd. For the world is fickle, but the self, when disciplined, when true, stands unshaken, like the great mountains beneath the eternal sky. Number 7. Fearing emotional depth instead of embracing it with wisdom. The man who fears the depths of his own heart is like a warrior who refuses to enter battle. He may feel safe, but he has already lost. Seneca once wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Many men fear their own emotions, believing that feeling deeply is a weakness, that vulnerability is a wound rather than wisdom. But what is a life without depth? What is a warrior without battle scars? The river does not fear its own currents. It carves mountains, shapes valleys, and gives life to all who drink from it. The wise man does not run from his emotions. He studies them, understands them, and lets them guide him, not control him. The Stoic does not suppress what he feels, nor does he allow it to rule him. Instead, he observes like a hawk soaring above the earth, seeing everything, but choosing when to strike. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. To be fearless is not to be emotionless. It is to walk into the storm of one's own feelings with wisdom, knowing that the winds may howl, the rain may pour, but beneath it all stands a man who does not break. The world may try to convince you that strength is silence, that detachment is power, but true power is mastery, not avoidance. To embrace one's emotions with wisdom is to live as the mountain, unmoved by the storm, yet shaped by the centuries. A man who walks through the forest without understanding the wind, the trees, or the creatures within will always feel lost. But a man who learns to listen, to observe, and to move with nature rather than against it, he becomes one with the land. The same is true in understanding women. Many men walk blindly, reacting instead of observing, controlling instead of accepting, speaking instead of listening. They misinterpret silence, take things personally, and seek to win arguments rather than find understanding. But as Marcus Aurelius teaches, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. A wise man does not rush to judgment. He does not let his emotions cloud his vision. The warrior does not fear the unknown, he studies it. The river does not resist the rocks, it flows around them. And the wise man does not demand that the world change to fit his desires. He adapts, he learns, he grows. The Stoic path is not about suppression, but mastery. It is not about avoiding emotions, but wielding them with wisdom. So what is the way forward? First, do not react, observe. Listen before you speak. Understand before you judge. Let silence be your strength, not your weakness. Control what is within you and let go of what is beyond you. For as Seneca reminds us, if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable.